Ms. Rogers, as you mentioned in your testimony, the Immigrant Military Members and Veterans Initiative, or IMMVI, allows DHS to accept and consider on a case-by-case basis parole requests under Section 212D5 of the INS, of the Immigration Nationality Act, from certain non-citizen current and former military service members, as well as qualifying family members of current and former military service members who are outside the United States. This allows these individuals who seek to enter the country to better avail themselves of U.S. legal counsel and systems and to gain access to certain veterans benefits. Knowing that the use of DHS's parole authority has become more controversial recently, can you describe in more detail what factors DHS uses in making these parole determinations and why this is actually a prime example of how DHS should be using its parole authority?
Thank you, Chairman Nadler, for the question. When I was assigned this responsibility back in July, we understood how complex this situation is, and what the way that we approached this initiative was to make sure that we put together a really sound process that included specialized training, dedicated officers who have a high level of experience in law enforcement, as well as the immigration with U.S. citizenship and the U.S. CIS staff that understand the eligibility for certain immigration benefits. And we developed a policy before we started making decisions on these requests for parole. And in every single case, what we have committed to do for the veterans is to do a case-by-case individualized review to consider a number of different factors in their request, primarily that there is an urgent humanitarian consideration or a significant public health, public benefit to considering an exercise of discretion. And the criteria includes both positive and negative factors relating to the decision, and a three-prong process of review where the officers from USCIS first review for eligibility for naturalization and other immigration benefits. Then the enforcement and removal officers review for public safety concerns and do a deeper dive into their criminal history. And then it goes to a supervisor for another review before the case is made, a final decision is made in the case. So I think I would sum it up to say that we're very, very careful in the way.
Sounds it. Have there been veterans that DHS has denied for parole?
Yes, because we look at every single case individually. The primary consideration when we deny a case is whether there is a risk, whether there's a risk to public safety, a current public safety risk, and that would be a indication of recidivism or a national security concerns. We always weigh military service heavily in a positive category, but unfortunately sometimes the negative factors outweigh the positive in some of the cases.
Thank you. Dr. McDonald, my understanding is that some of these veterans who are receiving humanitarian parole are coming in just so that the Department of Veteran Affairs can provide healthcare services. Is that correct?
That is our understanding, Chairman, that there are veterans who very much wish to receive care and services from VA and therefore seek that option.
Thank you. My last question is for Stephanie Miller. On February 2nd of last year, President Biden issued an executive order directing DHS as well as the state and justice departments to partner with the Department of Defense to, quote, facilitate naturalization for members of the military, close quote. Ms. Miller, what actions has the Department of Defense taken as a result of this executive order to facilitate naturalization for members of the military?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. We work very closely with our partners in USCIS to ensure the accuracy of information that is provided both in the recruitment, accession, and later on in the service phases. One of the more recent activities that we've done is work with USCIS to ensure that we have a list of the appropriate documentation that the new service member may need to initiate the process for naturalization consideration, such that they can bring that material and those documents with them to basic training. And so they're not necessarily having to go back to family members to try to find these documents. Outside of that, we also work closely with USCIS to ensure that new service members, whether in basic training or initial entry training or out in the field in force, that they have opportunities to meet with case officers both with USCIS and with our legal services team to make sure that we are assisting them in completing their applications and answering all questions, as well as facilitating interviews, making sure that we're helping them along the process during that application.
Thank you. My time has expired and I yield back.